Yeah, hello, Phil here, Testicular Cancer UK, and we're going to have a nice chat with Ian Merrington, um, who I've known for a while. Um, Now, these videos from now on, we're going to interview loads of lads, and we're going to put it on the website, and they're going to be called "This Is Me," and it's a chance for not to get millions and millions of hits on YouTube and everything. It's a chance for the lads who've been through testicular cancer to actually open up a bit and tell everybody what they went through. I.e. family and friends. Excuse me, I've got a really hay feverish throat, so I keep coughing. But yeah, that's what I want to do. So Ian can tell his story and then say to his friends and family, say, well, I've just done this interview, and they can maybe learn a bit and actually maybe tell us how he felt properly for the first time. Because as men, we get a bit brave, don't we? And say, I'm all right, I'm fine. Oh, I'll go to my checkup, I'll be fine. So, hopefully it won't end in tears, Ian. But I've known
We'll
Ian
see.
how long have I known you for, Ian?
Since 2015,
Is it? Is
so
that
8 years. Eight
already?
years.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, I do apologise for coughing because of my throat, but we're going to crack on. Okay, Ian, so
Yep.
where are you from? What school did you go to? When did you meet your missus? What did you do
Yep.
for living type stuff?
All right. So, Ian Merrington. I grew up in Leicester. I went to the City of Leicester School, which is only famous for Gary Lineker going to the same school. So that's my claim to fame. With work, I moved to South Wales. I started work for National Power, which owned power stations, and started work at Aberthaw Power Station. And then from there, moved to Swindon, which is where National Power's head office was. And I moved there probably about 96, something like that. And it was in Swindon where I met my wife-to-be, Simone. And I've been in Swindon ever since, because I don't think anyone particularly chooses to go to Swindon, but once you're there, it's very hard to leave, despite there being the M4 going both ways. So live in Swindon. I've got two daughters, Alice and Lucy. Alice is now 19, Lucy's 16. And I now work for the civil service. I work at the Ministry of Defence, buying stuff. So I'm a commercial officer. I buy stuff for defence. That's me.
Right. So did you buy all them crap mattresses we had one when I was in the army?
I've got some stories to tell. The thing you might have been involved with, I bought combat eyewear, so the goggles that you wear, walking around the streets looking cool with the shades on, and then there's a different variant that you stick on for when it all starts kicking off and you want something a bit more serious.
I was out by then. That'd be Mick Riley. I left in '98, and he stayed in.
Yeah, so he might have been walking around in a pair of goggles that I bought him.
Well, that's
and I can remember one of the because you work with the people who use them, and they were very clear that they didn't want to look like Specky Four Eyes walking around. They wanted to look cool with their sunglasses on. Never mind the protection; they do want to look cool.
So these were the shades that the warrant officers and the sergeant majors used to wear in civvies with a rugby shirt on the top of their head.
They probably did, but the idea was they're meant to offer some protection. But you want to look decent whilst you're walking around. You don't want to look like a lab technician, do you?
Well, that's what they said. The sergeant major civilian uniform was a rugby top and those shades on top of yeah. But anyway, yeah. So that's like your family. You live in Swindon. And let's get on to the testicular cancer bit, because I know for a fact that you're a very fit man and you enjoy sports and triathlons. And
triathlon, yeah.
Yeah. What did you So tell us about your diagnosis. I mean, when it was, how did you find it?
Okay, so it was I think I haven't got an exact date, but it was August 2015.
Right.
And I was in bed at night and I was just kind of holding myself, as you might do. And I felt a testicle and it was like rock hard. It was solid.
Yeah.
And I said to my wife, that doesn't feel right. And I don't know if she had a feel, but I went to the GP the next day, and I'm really lucky that I was able to get to see a GP quickly, but the GP was pretty good, because the GP said to me, I think that's an infection, but just to be safe, I'll send you off for a scan. So I got booked in for a scan, and I was doing triathlon. I'd just completed Ironman Wales, I think, then, or might have been Ironman UK. But I'm seriously into sport. So I remember I cycled up to the hospital because I thought it was a nice day for a bike ride, and I wasn't expecting anything. So I went in to have this scan, all joy of the world, and I hopped on the bed, and he started scanning me, and the guy scanning me basically said, "I don't like the look of that. That's going to have to come out, and I'll arrange for you to go and have a chat with the on-call consultant." So I got taken off to a waiting room on my own, away from all of the crowds, and there wasn't much of a phone reception, so I was able to phone my wife and say, "Actually, this isn't looking too good." And from that waiting room, I got taken off. I was taken for blood tests. I was taken for a CT scan. And then I was taken into a room where I met the consultant. And the consultant walked in. And I remember these words to my day, and you'll kind of laugh. She came in and she went, "Hi, I'm doctor." And I can't remember her name. I'm the doctor. "And this is Sean, the Macmillan nurse. Do you know why you're here?" And I said, "Well, I am not Sherlock Holmes, but I think you're about to tell me I've got cancer." And she said, "That's right. Do you know why you've had all these scans?" And I said, "Well, you're trying to work out how far it's spread," because it was full body, brain. And because I'm into sport, I knew about Lance Armstrong, and I knew the trials that he'd had. And she said, "Yeah, we're seeing where it's got to." And then she said to me, "Have you ever thought about a prosthetic testicle?" And I like to think that I'm a bit on my toes because of my work. I negotiate with suppliers and things. And I was absolutely, I was floored at this point. And all I could come back with was, "Not really. Do they come in different sizes?" And she said, "Yeah, we size them to match." And beyond that, I can't remember what happened next, really, because I was floored. I hadn't been expecting this. It was completely out of the blue. And within the space of, 20 minutes, I'd gone from being uber fit to, "You've got cancer and it could be in your brain."
Right.
And so they booked me in for surgery. I got given a pamphlet, I think, and kind of patted off and sent away. And my world fell apart then. I was in bits. I was petrified, because all I knew really was that, Lance Armstrong, he'd had testicular cancer, he'd had tumours on the lungs, he'd got tumours on the brains, he went in for surgery, I'd read his book, and, he'd had to serious battle to survive. And I'm thinking, I am lost. And the bit that was awful for me was, I think that was either a Thursday or a Friday, and there was nothing. There was no one available. There was no help. There was no follow-up. I'd been given scans. I didn't know when I would get the results. There was nothing. And the only thing that I'm grateful for is on the back of that pamphlet was the Checkham Lads website address.
Was
and
it?
So, yeah, I know.
Ask our permission, did he?
And I remember I was, you go onto Google, you start looking, you start trying to find out. There was an American group that was quite active, but because of the American healthcare, all they talk about is their diagnosis in intricate detail and what drugs they can afford to pay for.
TC forum, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was scary.
People, but yeah, it's very American.
Yeah. And so I Googled, I reached out on Facebook or through the website address, and literally within 20 minutes, I got this message, which I thought was spam, of some bloke saying, "This is my phone number, call me anytime, day or night." And then about a quarter of an hour later, another message came through saying, "Oh, it's Philly, by the way. I'm the guy behind the Checkham Lads website." And that it was, I won't say it wasn't a lifesaver, because but oh my God, it was an awful time, because I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea when things were happening. I couldn't get any information out of the hospital about my scan results, and I was, petrified. My life is over. I'm going to die. I'm not going to see my daughters grow up and get married. the world fell away from me, and you can't sleep. You lie there at night worrying.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Did you find yourself? Did you find yourself putting on a bit of an acting in front of your family and kids and that? If you get
it's worse than that.
Oh, don't worry about it. I'll worry. Did you tell? And by the way, did you tell the children straight away and sit them down?
We did tell them because we thought they need to know what's going on. Because fortunately, because I'm in the civil service, they've got quite good, welfare care that you can go off sick. You're not going to lose your job, so you're not paid an awful lot, but you've got those kind of protections. So I went off sick because I couldn't work. My mind was all over the place.
Yeah.
Did tell the girls. Didn't really know enough to tell them too much, other than something was going on. I was I kind of always kind of bullish, certainly at work. You no matter how bad it is, you've got to put on a brave face. And so I was overly optimistic. I was going to see my way through this through positive mental attitude. And my wife will tell you I drove her nuts. I probably drove the consultant nuts, because I'm not sure I really inside, right? I was bricking it.
Oh yeah.
Right. My wife said to me, "Don't die." I can remember her saying that, and you're thinking, "I'm doing my very best." It's not on the plan.
Yeah.
But I'll leap forward a little bit, because I ended up on some chemo, and I got sepsis as well in my first round. So I was ill, and apparently not far away from death when I was checked in. I had 5 days of IV antibiotics. When I got taken in to see the consultant, and he said to me, "How are you, Ian?" I went, "Yeah, I'm great, thanks." "How are you?" And he looked at me and he looked at my wife and he said, "You're coming in. You are an ill man." And it was that kind of, you could ask me how I was and it'd be, "I'm absolutely great," but I know I wasn't. It was that initial diagnosis and waiting for results and getting through that was the longest days of my life. It was awful, grim.
I remember, obviously, I've had it twice, and
yeah,
it's. I think when you're on some treatment plan, you sort of, okay, no, I know what's happening.
Yeah,
even though
the waiting for results, for results, the unknown, not knowing what your treatment plan looks like, not knowing the extent of what you're facing. It's the bleakest of moments. It's the low of the low.
I used to sit alone sit by myself at nights watching the telly, just not. And isn't it true? And I tell everyone, I ask everyone this: every advert is a cancer research advert. When you're diagnosed with cancer, every advert is a cancer advert. You're like, oh.
I did myself no favors. I started watching Breaking Bad.
Well, yeah, you got diagnosed, and what?
So I got diagnosed,
and you were stage.
I never really got a staging because Swindon is where I got my urology and the surgery, and then I got transferred across to Oxford, which is like a regional centre, the Churchill Hospital.
How far is that?
Oxford. It's probably an hour's or so drive.
Okay.
But Swindon couldn't look after me, so I got transferred across. I was fortunate in that it had been caught early, although it was rapidly growing. And I remember as well, that'll make you laugh, when I went to the urologist and he was giving me the results of the surgery. He was telling me quite an extensive amount of stuff, and the only thing I asked him was, "Is that a world record for a testicle size?" And the rest. So it's a good job I took my wife with me, because she listened, because I didn't. I just heard it was 4.6 centimeters, and I thought, that's a monster.
But no, it's you. So you didn't get a diagnosis.
Yeah. So I didn't get staged, but I went on to surveillance. But because my blood results, it showed up in my blood results. but they never fell quite enough. They were falling. So that was about September when I had the surgery.
Yeah.
And I went on to surveillance. He did offer me 2 rounds of BEP, or he said surveillance, and it was an easy choice to take surveillance because you get treated with BEP anyway, so avoid it if you can.
Yeah.
And then just after the Christmas, so I was on monthly bloods and a scan, and I think that they picked it up at Christmas. They let me go through Christmas, and then they phoned up on like the 2nd of January and said, your blood results have shown an increase. You need to come in. You're going through chemo.
I remember now. Yeah.
So again, the prospect of facing chemo and the fear that it's returned, and the fear of, will it treat it? Will it be effective? How is this panning out? I moved from being in a place where I thought, actually I dodged a bullet, been really lucky, to actually this isn't panning out quite as well as it might have done.
So I think did we talk on FaceTime about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I remember you. Yeah, you remember saying, "Look, I've got to go and have chemo now." How did you feel about facing chemo? Because obviously, I'm the worst person to ask, really, aren't I? Because people ask me what's chemo like, because I've had shitloads of it, like you, and I go, "Oh, it's crap. It's awful." And people say to me, "You shouldn't say that." So, well, I'm not going to say it's nice, am I? But
yeah,
I was probably the worst person.
Well, I don't know, because so how did I feel about it? I was petrified. I was scared, unknown. I was in denial still because I'd entered Ironman UK, and all I was asking was, and my wife again, I feel sorry for her really. I went along to talk to the consultant about the chemo, and I think he must have wanted who he was talking with, because he's going, right, so you've got, the numbers are going up here, and you've got to go through chemo. And I said, all right, okay, so can I still train? And he's like, sorry. Well, I like swimming, cycling, and running. Can I go out running? And he said, well, if you think it's going to be good for you, I mean, in my experience, I don't really encourage people to go running, but what about cycling? Because I like cycling a lot. And he said, well, the same. And I said, what about swimming? And he said, I'll be honest with you, Ian, I don't think going in a public pool is probably the right thing. That's all right. I can still swim and cycle. And my wife's saying, and she told me afterwards, he has just told you, if you don't have chemo, you're going to die. And all you can ask him is, can I swim, bike, or run? You've not asked him about what the treatment is, what it's going to do to you, how long you're just not interested, and it's because I was in denial, I think. I was petrified about it. But all I could think about was, what's going on with my life? Is it, how am I going to carry on? And I think I was a nightmare partner and a nightmare.
Well, have you
patient?
If you're I hate saying this word, but a fitness freak, then that's always been your escape, whether you got cancer or not, isn't it? It's your thing.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you think, well, if it can, you're so used to doing that, it's part of your life. Then if you can crack on doing with it, maybe it's you'll have less time to worry about the chemo. If you get me?
Yeah.
Speaking to Sam Cox, the bike racer, this bike racer, motorbike racer.
Yeah.
And he was telling me, I'm just going out on a 5K on round 3. A BEP. I'm just going out on a 5K. Run on my bike. I was push biking.
By round 3, I couldn't walk up the stairs.
Well, yeah, okay. So tell us about the. Be honest. When you got in the chemo, a lot of people say it's not as bad as what I think, and some people say it was worse than what I thought.
Yeah.
How did you feel going through? Because unless you've had testicular cancer and BEP, people don't understand. I mean, me and you understand. Your family and your friends watching. BEP, chemo is one of the strongest chemos you can have. Right? It's given them on big doses because testicular cancer is so aggressive. And it's like, I know I'm interviewing you now, mate, but people say to me, what's chemo like? And I can't tell them. I can't put it in a paragraph.
Yeah.
So how did you feel? I mean, it's all BEP chemo. You're in for a week and you're out for 2 weeks, and you're in for a day, and then you start again, and it's around. And
so I was an outpatient. So I had for Churchill, they do 2 long days and then a short day of infusions, week 1. And then week 2, it was in just for the bet, which at Churchill is an injection rather than an infusion in your butt cheek. And then week 3 is another bet, and that's 1 cycle. And so I had 3 cycles of that.
Right.
I went into it thinking, I'm really positive I'm going to mentally push my way through this, because I'm a fit person, I'm strong, I'm going to get through this. And I was worried about the side effects and what but I wanted to live. I had a really vivid memory of I'll try not to cry, that I wasn't going to see my daughter get married.
Yeah.
And even now, it's a real emotion, that I was petrified that I wouldn't get to see that. So I went into it, I'm going to smash this to bits. And I went in on day 1, and it's all uncertain, you've not done it. And because you're on a long day of infusions, they were like from 8 o'clock to say 6 o'clock or something. They get you on the bed and they get you going, and they're going through it, and you have to get the cannula in, and it's all new. And I did day 1, and I thought, do you know what? If that's what it is, it's a walk in the park. No problem at all. Easy. I went in for day 2, and my decline was so rapid. It was unbelievable. I didn't get on well with my anti-sickness meds in the first round, and they switched them up for the subsequent rounds. But probably by the short day, I crawled into bed, and my wife, and again, Checkham Lads was a saviour, because I crawled into bed, I'd thrown up, and I was kind of hallucinating. I was pretty much unresponsive. I didn't want to engage in anything, wasn't particularly hungry, wasn't really drinking. My wife was doing everything she could think of to make smoothies, to make enticing drinks. And she reached out to Matt Gilver, who's partner, now wife, and she was like an angel to her. And it was awful. I was, and she came in and she was going, you just need to get your ass out. She tried to G me up. And I was floored. I was in a terrible state. I'd make you laugh. I had a really kind of lengthy chat with Bear Grylls. I've never told anyone this, about getting Bear Grylls to do a Checkham Lads event where he was going to go into the jungle and feel his nuts and encourage everyone to check their nuts. I don't know whether
we're going to say get Philly to do something like skydiving or something. I was like, whoa.
Well, maybe he could do it with you, and you both check nuts in the jungle at the same time. I don't know, but I was floored. I was in a terrible state. It was awful. And then after the weekend, I kind of dragged myself out of bed and started to recover. And at that point, I thought, I can't go through this. I can't survive 2 more rounds of that. It was a low point in my life. And I can't remember whether it was week 2, week 3. It's probably in between. But it was then that my daughter came home with a cold, and obviously I picked up a bug and ended up going into Swindon A&E, where they discharged me and pushed me off to Churchill, because I was due to go and have a BEP injection. So Churchill received me and put me in, and I ended up on 5 days of IV antibiotics. And they kept the chemo going. They did say to me, no matter what's going on, we're going to keep this going because you need it. But oh man, that was a low point. I was in bits. And then I think that set me up for just about surviving, really, rounds 2 and 3. And people say, well, it's like, for me, the physical side of it was bad. I went from someone who could do an Ironman, triathlon. So, it's 2 miles swimming, 112 miles on the bike, a marathon run just to finish it off. So I could barely walk up the stairs without having a little sit down. And I went into a world of my own. The like chemo brain, the fuzz.
Yeah.
I thought I was engaging, and I was shuffling around the house, and I'd do a bit of hoovering, and think that I was contributing, but I wasn't engaging in anything. I was just kind of like a cotton wool head sat there just surviving. It was bleak.
Because what when I was on Keep Bep, like you said, then you need a little rest, even if you go up the stairs. I remember I went upstairs to have a wee. I don't know what stage it was, but they don't tell you get really out of breath, do they? But I went upstairs for a wee. This is when my hair was gone. And I was pale, horrible, and I went and had a wee because you drink a lot of water, don't you?
Yeah.
You needed to lie down on the bathroom floor for half an hour to get the energy to get back downstairs again. It absolutely no. And I remember somebody rang me. I was talking to some. Actually, this was years later. I was doing some research for lungs and chemo and that. And there's an expert in Switzerland who was talking to, and he said, "Bep chemo is the equivalent of climbing Everest without a mask on." And I didn't know that. The oxygen levels get that low. So that's what they feel like. So I'm not climbing Everest, by the way. But, yeah. So you went into round two. How did you feel as you were going through two and three? Did you sort of get right into what's the word? Like
bit of a routine.
Yeah.
The round one was awful. Round two was better because they changed my meds up. Right. So that made a difference because I reacted badly in the first round. And it was almost noticeable as you were going through the various infusions of the day, how they would, different ones would you'd be all right up until the point you got either the etoposide or I can't remember which one it was, but you could see the colour drain from me, and it just wiped me out on the bed.
I'll be the bully.
And your appetite goes. All the side effects of, for me, my digestive system kind of shut down from the neck to the middle of my body. Right. I could eat it and it would just sit there. Yeah. And then from my top of the stomach out, it sped up. It was horrific. It was like toxic sludge burning its way out. It was bleak, and hair falls out, and you
it falls out, doesn't it? It doesn't. You can.
Mine came out when I was in hospital on. There's a funny story for you. So they put me in 5 days. I didn't know how long I was going to be in for. They just put me on IV antibiotics, and they started asking me to collect my wee to monitor fluids.
Yeah.
And then my hair started coming out in clumps. So I was in the shower and I just had a little cry because I felt so ill. My hair was coming out. I couldn't stop it getting in my face, no matter how much I was washing.
Yeah.
I just stood there feeling really sorry for myself.
Well,
And then the next day, my consultant was a top man, but he came in and just laughed at me because I looked like I was a dog with the mange. It was like just looked awful. I said to my wife, "You got to sort this out." And she said, "Well, what do you want me to do?" I can buy some clippers and sort it out.
That's funny because when I that's funny you talk about the shower. When I first had Bep, it was I put shower gel on my hand.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do that, and I went like that, and I saw hair go like that, and I went like that, and my hand had hair on. I looked in the mirror, and there was a I thought, I know it comes out, but surely it doesn't come out that quick. And by the end of that night, it had come out completely.
Wow, yeah. But at the end of 5 days,
I mean, this year it is. Do you know what, Ian? I don't know if you agree with me here. That's when you know you've got cancer, right?
Yeah.
Sort of hits you. Look, oh shit, I'm on chemo and I've got cancer.
I look like it now. Yeah.
I look like it. Look at me. It was quite traumatic. Well, I don't know traumatic, but I'm an ex-soldier.
It was tough, right? It was a tough journey. But the highlight of that was at the end of the 5 days, I said, "What would you like me to do with all this wee?" Because they never told me to stop. So basically, because I'd got cancer, the joy was I was in a room on my own. They didn't put me in a ward,
right?
And so I'd got a bathroom next to it, and I'd just been peeing in bottles for the 5 days, and they never said stop. So I had a room just full of
piss. Ian's piss room. You got to hold your hand off them. Yeah. Those nurses are amazing, aren't they?
They are.
It's I've been in hospital for other reasons, and they sort of like, I'm not saying they stop at night, but they turn the lights off at night, don't they? And they go and sit and talk. But the cancer nurses are changing chemos all night. People are being sick next to you. They're there helping them, taking them to the toilet. I'm not comparing other wards, but the cancer nurses, unbelievable.
Oh, and going on the ward as well is an eye opener. It's heartbreaking, isn't it? Because I was on Churchill's a specialist unit.
Yeah.
So, but you go in and you see all of the people going through cancer, and you've got a lot of old people, and they're the struggle of getting a cannula in, and it's heartbreaking. You just look across, you see how cancer affects every generation, every person, every walk of life. There's no one's excused from it.
No, that's true. There's no rules, is there?
No.
Probably one of the only things in life where there's no rules. True, but yeah. So you got through the round 3.
I got through.
I think I'm pretty lucky because I was all right. Like you said, you suffered the first one. I was all right. The second round knocked the crap out of me, and then the third round, I was used to it.
Yeah.
You went in a different level.
Because I got so battered in the first round, it was quite hard. I was at a low point, so it was really just an endurance. I think physically, all the side effects started kicking in. So I had really bad neuropathy. The fingers felt really fat and swollen. I couldn't open a can of pop. It was just too tender. My guts went to rack and ruin. Your gums are sore, and it's just tough. But it was nowhere near as bad as round 1. It was more for us, the domestics of we haven't got close family nearby. I've got 2 young girls. They need looking after. I need ferrying because I couldn't drive myself to and from the hospital in Oxford, which is miles away from home. They're 2.5 long days. You're in then the following week, and whilst you're going through all of that, at the back of your mind is you're going, is it worked? Is it done the job? Yeah. Unfortunately for me, it did. But
one of the you brought that up because when I talk to people, it brings things up with me as well. You can sit there thinking, this better be working.
Yeah.
I'm gonna feel this shit. Right, this better be, and you say to your doctor, don't you? What my blood's like, and they're going, "Oh, just wait till the chemo finishes." And then
yeah.
And then you're dying to ask them again, aren't you? But you think, "Now he's already told me." That's when people ring me when they go about to go through chemo. That's why I will say to them now, "Look, do the chemo. Don't worry about the bloods and the CT scans. Do that.
Yeah.
Just get on with the chemo, and everybody, hopefully, they do." But yeah, so you got through the chemo. I mean, we're not exaggerating. People watching, we're not exaggerating. BEP chemo is horrible. It really is. It's a horrible thing. And unfortunately, I won't make it any pretty. Lads have to go through it, So you got through the BEP. I mean, side effects. I mean, I think my greatest side effect maybe was I had constipation, really bad constipation, and the gums.
Yeah.
They're pretty sore. They go red. I could move my teeth.
Oh.
One thing on my teeth and move. That's even ever been right since, actually. But you got through the chemo.
Yeah.
And then obviously another hard time, I'm sure you'll agree, is when you finish the chemo, you sort of chucked out the hospital the other end and they'll say, well, we'll be in touch within the next 4 weeks, 5 weeks, come in and have your bloods in the CT scan. And then you've got to wait 5 or 6 weeks. Oh, I know you're recovering from the chemo, and that's pretty hard, isn't it? Because you're thinking, why have I got to wait 5 weeks for 5 weeks?
Well, I was fortunate because he said to me just at the end of the round 3 that your bloods are where they want to be. Right. So I just took that basically to be it's worked.
Yeah.
My bleak points were beforehand. Afterwards, I kind of thought, well, it's worked. It's now just onto scans and fingers crossed it doesn't return. But
Yeah.
you know, I think because I'd been on surveillance and then kind of failed surveillance, gone back in, I sort of convinced myself that for whatever reason it had never really been treated. There was a small amount in the bloodstream somewhere and it's come back. This BEP's been it's killed it. It is dead. And so you going out the hospital was weird because you kind of at the end of that process and you kind of going, well, what next? And you think, you're so beaten up, a bit of recovery, but then you just like, you need to start trying to get back on with your life, and that's tough.
It is. I mean, how long, can you remember, when did they ever actually, how long was it until they told you it looks good? I know you said you had a blood test pretty nearly.
Yeah.
Did you ever go in for an appointment when they say your CT scan looks good, your bloods look good?
For me, because my CT scan was always clear from day one, so I never had I did have scans, but I never expected to see anything. Churchill were really good. They were excellent, and I think that I probably had a follow up maybe a week after the chemo where they basically went, "You are where we want you to be. There's, your blood's good." Because my bloods were quite low anyway. They just started to rise again, so I guess that it was full 3 rounds, but I'd already I was starting in a good place.
I mean, people who don't know, there are different types of testicular cancer. Some give off blood markers and some don't. But usually the ones that do give off blood markers, like Ian had, is very aggressive. And very, very aggressive. So it can be spread through pretty quick. So although Ian said his CT scan was clear, they've looked at his bloods and said, oh, they've initially thought that it hasn't spread because your bloods are okay-ish and there's nothing on your CT scan. But when your blood starts shooting up, there's something in there that might be too small for a CT scan. It could be a few around your body, but they're too small for a CT scan. So it travels through the lymphatic system, lymph so that's why Ian had to go and have all that chemo to get rid of it. So it probably had spread. If your testicles gone and your blood markers start coming back, it has spread. It's in there, so it did spread. But it's. Did you ever go through chemo and think, I don't want to do it anymore? I'm not going into the hospital. I remember when I was going into round 3, a couple of days before I was meant to be going in, I went, round 3, come on, go and get first. And the night before, I was saying, I'm not going. But I can't be going. I don't want it.
Yeah.
So they only get them points.
No, it was the start of round 2 for me because round 1 had been the infusions absolutely nailed me. I was in bits.
Yeah.
Then I'd had sepsis and been in hospital, and getting ready for round 2 was thinking, I am not sure how I'm going to cope with that because I didn't cope very well with round 1.
Yeah.
I'm not in a good place. I've been floored. I'm trying to get back up on my feet and go for round 2, and I'm not sure they should be ringing the bell already and saying throw the towel in because this man can't take it. But that's when I think the people around you kind of, I was so lucky with my wife that, and I would say again, the support from the people in the forum and that of buoying you up and keeping you going, of such positivity, and hearing from people who go, you will get through it. Just don't worry about kind of you're not fighting. Just let the chemo do it. You just need to go along for the ride, kind of. It was tough.
They're a good bunch in that forum, aren't they?
They are.
I should show my appreciation a bit more sometimes.
But I remember I feel obliged that I want to help out. So whenever I see anyone come on and going, I'm facing BEP, I do my best to let them know the things that worked for me, because I remember the scare, the fear for me, and those early anything I could do to help anyone else get through that and share my experience, and that you will get through it day by day. There is an end to it, but it's a tough ride, and I was just relieved to get to the end of it and a chance to start trying to rebuild back to normality.
I mean, that's why I started doing the check on lads, which is now Testicular cancer, because I don't know what to talk to.
Yeah,
If I had someone to talk to when I went through it, I think it would have been a bit easier. Like you said,
yeah.
I mean, I had no one. I mean, I'm not. It was 2003, before they were off the internet. It was before the internet. There wasn't Facebook. There wasn't Twitter.
Yeah, yeah,
I just can't believe there wasn't a Facebook or there wasn't a Twitter. So when I set this up, because I didn't want to be as big as Movember and have Range Rovers and officers. I just wanted to be there if somebody needed a chat. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but it does help. I mean, yeah. So
Made a world of difference for me.
did you feel did you ever get a bit snappy with your missus or anything? Irritable? Did you think?
I think it was more the opposite for me. I disappeared into a world of chemo fog,
Right.
and then afterwards, yes, I. So after I'd finished the chemo, and a couple of months later, you start getting back to work, and that was hard enough, but there was something wasn't right with me, because I started to recover, but then my memory loss. I was starting to forget things.
Yeah.
I was quite short tempered. I was, angry with the girls. I was in a way that I wouldn't normally. I was snappy, and I started to lose weight. Like, you start losing a bit, and you go, "That's quite nice," and then it keeps going and it keeps going. And I'm not a massive guy. There wasn't a lot to go anyway, but the muscle was going, and I can remember, hormones, and so it was the low testosterone was causing me a heap of problems.
And of course,
That,
like everyone knows, the forum, they don't check our hormone levels before they take a testicle away. They think
no,
once was enough. Unfortunately, some men do go after testicular cancer with low hormones. The hormones they've cut apart the hormone system away, and then it's too much to get into now. But some lads can get their testosterone never recovers back to our testosterone in life naturally comes down. But when you have testicular cancer, I mean, he's pretty young. It's gone from there, testicular cancer, lost a testicle, bang, down to like
yeah,
30 years loss overnight and never recovers. So when they find out you've got low testosterone, I mean, the symptoms are, as Ian has just said, brain fog, snappy, maybe feeling a bit depressed, no energy, not you go, and they put it down to you're depressed after cancer. Here's some antidepressants. You've been post-traumatic. Don't get me wrong, you can get post-traumatic after cancer. You can't go through cancer and not be wound up after it. But you know your body, don't you?
yeah,
So
yeah.
so you felt something. I mean, you're a sporty, athletic guy anyway. You felt very old very quickly.
Oh, it was, all of my muscle was just disappearing.
Yeah.
I was losing weight. Kilogram after kilogram was just falling off me. I was not well, and you wonder what's going on. So I was, again, Churchill were pretty prompt in sending me off to endocrinology. Yeah, I was very lucky, and endocrinology were really good in kind of getting me onto gels and managing it very closely, because they were more concerned about giving me too much too soon whilst I was still in the recovery phase after the chemo, that
Right.
if there's any cancer still there, testosterone feeds it, and that they didn't want me to start taking too much too soon. They wanted to be able to control it, that if the cancer returned, they could cut that off quite quickly.
It's with prostate, really. It's not a testicular. But yeah, sorry, carry on.
Yeah. So I then got on the gels, which kind of, I kind of started to recover, dropped, and then recovered again. And fortunately for me, it was then a gradual path back to starting some fitness, starting to try and get back to normality, and slowly catching monkey. I did.
Right. Did you actually ask the hospital, Ian, or did they approach you about your hormones, or did you say, "Hey, what about my testosterone?"
Because I was under regular checkups with them, I just went along, and they could see my weight was dropping. They could see, and I just had to chat with them about how I'm feeling. And he said, yeah, we'll refer you to endocrinology. Yeah.
Well done to him.
Yeah, because it wasn't
Anyway,
something I was thinking of. I thought that there was something else going on. You know, there was something still cancery because
yeah.
you know, you think, oh, massive weight loss. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us about you got on gels. You started to feel a bit better.
Yeah.
I remember rightly. You went on to the gels weren't doing what.
So I was on the gels for
yeah.
probably a couple of years,
Yeah.
and I switched between brands because at one point one of the brands you couldn't get it, and I moved to the other brand, and it was all good. There was no, I was quite happy with the gels, but then for whatever reason, it just seemed to stop being effective.
Yeah.
And I went along to endocrinology again. Went, I'm just not. I can tell it's not working for me.
Right.
And they said, well, we'll try the Nebido. So I went on to the 3-monthly injection, and I've been on that for probably a couple of years, and that works a treat. The only downside to that is it stings like a mother when they inject it. It hurts.
Do you feel a dip before you?
No, not really, not for me.
So but it definitely testosterone. You know me, I talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
You think that, you back me up here, you think that there are maybe more men out there who are going with undiagnosed after testicular cancer, probably?
Yeah. I can only say from my own experience, I was just lucky that Churchill referred me, and then my original endocrinologist. It's an embarrassing time because she was a little Asian lady. She was lovely, but it was like talking to your grandma. And so, you know, to begin with, she put me on the gels and she was brilliant. But then you'd go in and she'd be saying, so how are you, Ian? And she'd squeeze my arm, or I'd be in a pair of shorts and she'd go, oh, your muscles are coming on. You're still doing your sport then? And you go, yeah. And, oh, that's great. How's the running? How's the cycling? And tell me, are you having erections? And go, oh, God, grandma, I don't want to talk about this. How's your sex life?
Yeah, just to be clear to everyone who's watching, testosterone's been demonized, hasn't it? It's testosterone fueled violence, testosterone. What we get, right? Because I'm on testosterone as well. It's a gel. We don't get what you see these people cheating on sports. We get a small amount every day, which was meant to take us to the level of our age, right? So don't think we're getting big muscles and having huge erections.
No,
you're not allowed. They do it properly. They don't give you too much of the right amount. So don't be.
It just makes you feel normal. It doesn't make you feel like Superman or anything.
Yeah.
And actually, I remember asking her, because I am interested. And I said, just as an aside, you know, how much would I need to take if I was going to be doing what Lance Armstrong did? And she went, we're not talking about that, Ian. But you're nowhere near it.
Funny enough, it was the remember the injections in the stomach, Neublaster, was it? Remember when you're on chemo, they did that injection in your stomach that makes your red and white blood cells recover quicker. He was on that as well, apparently, wasn't he?
Yeah, masking his symptoms. So he's trying to hide what he was taking, and by masking it, obviously, it made it harder for them to identify what was wrong with him.
Do you remember those injections in the stomach?
I had them when I was. I had injections when I was in with sepsis, but I think they're the ones to kind of
EPO, I think it's called, or something. I remember them because the first time I came over, I didn't have them. When I went on EP a couple of years ago, they said you've got to take this injection home. Shelf, and I went, I'm not doing that. So Laura, it's like a thingy pen, but you've got to stab yourself and. So Laura goes, well, I'll do it. And I'm stood there, my arms in the air, my belly out. she slammed it into my belly. And because it made a clicking sound, she screamed and let go. So it was hanging out my belly like that. But we didn't know whether it had gone in or not. I said, did you hear it click? And she's going, I've killed you. I've killed you. You hear it click, wasn't it? Can you take it out? The needle was bent. So yeah, it was. I'll do the next one, love. You just quietly go away. That stuff. I mean, I remember they didn't even tell me what it's for. That's to to increase your red and white blood cells in between that, so you recover quickly. Yeah,
I didn't have that. No, I was lucky to escape that one.
it is new, I think, newish, but yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so you've gone the test out. You got to go for your normal checkups and that now. How often do you check up now?
I did 5 years. For the first 3 years, I think it was almost monthly.
Yeah.
Which is tough. But I also I quite liked it, because the more I was being tested, the more I was confident that there was nothing there. So I kind of saw it as a positive, actually, that you're confident it's not there. And then the last 2 years, I kind of went on to quarterly. And at the end of the 5 years, they basically went, well, you've got as much chance of anyone else in the population of it reoccurring. That's us. We kind of discharge you, and I just took that as a celebration. It's done.
Yeah. I mean, it's a typical story of testicular cancer and BEP, and it's. I mean, I don't know. I've never really talked about it myself, to be honest. I've always been the one asking questions, but it's a roller coaster, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I'll ask you a question, because so for me, I have always tried to then think I need to take the positive from this, because it's that wake up call of life is precious.
Yeah.
Seize the day, make the most of every moment. How do you think it's changed your outlook on life? Or
I don't know. The first time, obviously, my head went a bit afterwards, because I was only young. I just left the army. I don't know. I was sort of terrified about. I mean, I had the BEP, and I was like everybody else, was worried about it coming back. But then, as you know, Laura, my partner, got melanoma cancer, and I actually remember when she gone to bed. This was just before when we found out, and we figured out it's pretty dangerous cancer to have. I remember thinking. I remember crying on the floor in the front room, saying to God, "Take me, not her. Take me, not her."
man.
Right? I'm an ex-soldier, because she's got to be able to look after Polly. And long story short, it turns out after some operations, Laura was going to be fine, right? And about 6 months later, my cancer came back.
Wow.
So I was like, to God, all right, take me, not her, but not literally. But I don't know, since the second cancer in, my thought is, as long as Laura and my kids are all right,
yeah,
do what the hell you want to me.
Yeah.
I am a shrug, and I shrug. I say trivial things. As people who've never had cancer are worrying for oh my God, no. I mean, it's dangerous, because you think, oh, there's a bill, I'll pay that next month. It's a bit dangerous, that, yeah. So what? They're going to come and take the house. I'm not that bad, but I think the first time I had it was a bit of a shock, like I probably felt the same as you. And the second time when they told me, I just went, all right. I said, I'm not going. I'm Professor Clark. I said, I'm not going to chemo again. He goes, you are. I said, and I was in his office, and I got on really well, Professor Clark. We had this narky attitude with each other. We hated each other, but liked each other. You get me? I said, you're not putting me on chemo? And he goes, Morris, you are. You're going on chemo? I said, you fucking not. He goes, I remember he goes, he crossed his arms, and he goes, well, you're going to die then, aren't you? I said, all right, I'll start on Monday. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I think it's just that's 1 and 2 get cancer. It's part of life.
Yeah.
And it's. I'm not scared of it anymore. Obviously, since Carl died, I'm not scared of it anymore. I never will be. And if it gets me, it probably will one way. I'll just go up. I managed to get another 20, 30 years out of it. So as long as Laura and my kids are all right, do what they want to me. They can do what it wants to me. Really, that's the deal I've made with God. But yeah,
a few more years.
Yeah. Ian, before we go, if you could tell a young lad or a young man who's just been diagnosed like a few words of wisdom. Just what
Yeah.
was
It's tough, right? Because you know that for the majority of people, you know, I don't know what the percentage is. It will be all right.
yeah,
You will be okay. You will get through this. It is bleak. You can't avoid it. The initial diagnosis is horrific. It's grim. It's the worst point in my life. It's the low. You're just scared, and it's uncertain. You don't know, but you will get through it. Day by day, you will find a way to get through it. And if you're going to get cancer, TC is kind of one to get, because it's really treatable, and your journey may not be smooth. You may dodge the bullet of chemo and just go on to surveillance. You may have to go through some chemo. You may have some more surgery to come, but you'll get through it. And I think that's the message for me, is that you'll get through it. And probably the message we should give everyone is, which is why I've tried to do a bit myself, getting it early changes your journey that you go through. If you catch it early, you might dodge the chemo. If you get it early, you might not have to have the additional surgery that some lads have to go through.
yeah.
But yeah, you know, the advice, you will get through it. It's bleak and it's tough, but there is light at the end of that tunnel.
Yeah. And finally, right, I mean, what would you like to say anything to anyone who in your family or who you've never really
probably Simone.
Yeah.
Hopefully I said thank you to her, because
Yeah, I know you're a gentleman.
I'd hope so, but
you're not like me.
She carried me. She carried the family when we were going through it, because without her, you know, she kept us going. It was a rough time for her, trying to look after me, who was being a bit of a dick, just asking if I could go swim, bike, and run. And
oh, she's a good girl.
She looked after the girls. She kept the family going, because I was in no fit state. So and the other bit, I guess for you and the lads who were around at the time, it was an amazing support that was provided. You know, I try not to cry again, but someone in the forum.
Cry, you bastard.
I'm not. You want to get the post up. Matt in the forum. I didn't know.
Yeah,
he reached out and basically said, because we were struggling to get me to the hospital, I'll drive up. I'll take you.
Yeah.
I mean, the human, you know, goodwill, seeing the best in people. And for me, that's one of the things about the forum. You see the absolute best in people who are going through the hardest times.
Yeah.
Just incredible. Just incredible.
It is. It's one of the hardest things to do when you've had cancer, I think, is to offer a bit of support, because most men, to be honest, come in the forum, and there's nothing wrong with it. Come to the forum, get all the advice you need. Once they're in sort of like remission, you never hear from them again, and that's absolutely fine. Because but some people like me, and I want to say thank you to you actually, because you're, as you know, the people in the forum and that, you know, the lads I know really close. It's chaos all the time. It's chaotic. Right? You're a calming figure. I know if I'm going to speak to you, or I know you're going to post something, it's going to be educated and calm. And then the rest of us is absolute chaos, isn't it?
Yeah, I try to help. I want to help. Like, yeah. Let
Down
some good
south.
come from it.
Yeah. You don't talk like us, though, do you?
No, I'm sorry.
I mean, yeah. Hopefully, you know, you can send this. Like I said, I want this video to people, not to get millions of clicks on the YouTube and stuff, but you can send this to your mates and your family, and maybe they'll. Well, I didn't realise you went through all that, because I think it's important, and they might look at you now and go, well, I know you wouldn't go give me back slaps. You're not like that, but it should be nice for people to say, well, you know, I'm sick of hearing personally, and I'm sick of saying hearing testicular cancer is nothing. When you got to go through all that, you know, it's survivable. Yeah, it's survivable, but Yeah, it's one of the strongest chemos. It's one of the toughest regimes, and the people do die from it. You know, it's as simple as that. As you know,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's a brilliant interview. And hopefully, I will put this up, and you can send it to people.
I will. I
Um,
will.
if this is recorded, by the way, you might have to do version 2. But
Yeah.
stop recording now, Ian. Don't go away because I'll talk to you afterwards. But
Yeah.
that's Ian's
All
story.
right.
Ian Merrington from Swindon, originally from
Swindon,
Leicester.
Leicester.
And that's your story. So if you're friends and family, I'm sure you'll find it interesting. Testicularcanceruk.com. It will be on there, and it will be on our YouTube channel as well, if you ever want to go and watch it again. So I'll stop recording now. And don't go away, Ian.
I'm staying.